Hey Dad. Sorry I'm late, but my stats class ran late. Thanks for inviting me to dinner though. Ugh. You were always running late. Haven't I taught you anything over the years? Yes, Dad. We have been through this a million times. I am not like you, well that's for sure. Your stats grade reflects one big difference from me. I loved stats in college. Could I help you with anything to try to make your grade a little bit better? Well, I really don't want to get help from you, but since I don't want to hear you complain if I don't do well, I guess we can give it a try. I have an exam next week and I don't understand all these different ways to randomly sample data. My professor talked about a simple random sample and a systematic sample. They sound like the same thing to me. They are not the same, but I think I can help you understand the difference. With a simple random sample, the researcher has a complete list of possible subjects and then the sample is randomly selected from that. So you mean to select the sample the researcher just closes their eyes randomly and points to names or something? No, that is not at all what I mean. A person cannot select themselves because even if they are trying to be random, the selections are still biased. The researcher must use some form of computer program or software to randomly select. Oh, now I get it. I wish my professor would have just said it like that. He always has to use big words to sound smart and then the whole class gets confused. Ha ha. Well, I think if you would read your book it might help you too. Whatever, Dad. Anyways, let's move on to systematic sample. With that one there is random selection again, but it is a method to it. The researcher has a list of the population and then the starting location on the list is randomly selected. From that point, every so many people from the list are picked. For example, every fifth person would be chosen to be in a sample. Okay. That makes sense to me. How about stratified random sample and cluster sample? In a stratified random sample, the researcher separates the population into groups or stratas and then randomly selects from each strata. For example, the groups could be males and females, and then the researcher would use a program to randomly select subjects from each of those groups separately. If the researcher wants proportional groups, he or she would have to know what the population looks like. For example, if the population was people who have dogs and in that population 60% are males and 40% are females, the researcher could choose to pick more people from the male strata to make the sample have a similar proportion. Okay. I'm following you so far. Now to get to that last one. A cluster sample has groups like the stratified sample. But, instead of selecting subjects from each cluster, one or more clusters is randomly selected and then everyone in that cluster is part of the sample. So let me try to think of an example that would be a cluster sample. I guess it might be something like wanting to get a sample of the biology 100 students at a university. So to do that, the researcher would randomly select a section of the class and then use those students in the study. That is exactly right. I guess you have some of me in you after all. Whatever, Dad. I do appreciate your help though. This stats stuff isn't so bad after all.